Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into group learning.
Oh, group learning.
Yeah, we'll be looking at its potential, to really boost your learning
Mm.
and those those tricky dynamics that can either make or break a group's success.
When we think of group projects, we often just think about splitting up the work, right? Like
Yeah.
just a way to divide and conquer.
Totally.
But true collaborative learning, it goes way deeper than that.
It really does. It's
Mhm.
more about, I think, tapping into that power of shared knowledge. Wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
I was actually reading some research about how collaborative learning can boost academic achievement
Right.
and
Yeah.
help people develop those super important interpersonal skills that employers are always looking for.
Makes sense when you think about it. When you
Yeah.
interact and debate and kind of like teach each other, you engage with the material on a whole new level.
Totally.
You learn to think critically, solve problems creatively, and you just retain information more effectively than if you were working solo.
Way more effectively.
Mm.
So something that really stood out to me in the research was this stuff about auditory learning in group settings.
Oh, interesting.
Apparently, even people who don't identify as auditory learners found audio feedback to be super helpful.
Huh.
It makes me wonder if maybe it's because of all the nuances of human interaction.
Yeah,
What do you think?
it could be. I mean, tone of voice and emphasis, those subtle ways that we say things, I think that can all carry a lot more meaning than just the written word.
For sure.
It's like, think about the difference between like reading a comment online
Yep, yeah.
and having someone tell you that same thing directly.
Totally different.
The impact is just so much greater,
It is.
way bigger.
Okay, so if we want to have really effective group learning, what are the things we need to get right?
Well, there are these three kind of fundamental pillars, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Learning, the study, social dynamic, and organization.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. So first up, learning.
Right.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but what makes group learning different from just, say, reading a textbook together?
It's about creating an environment where everyone is like really engaged with the material. So think challenging tasks that spark discussion and debate.
Yeah.
Opportunities for everyone to bring in their own perspectives and making sure that everybody has a chance to contribute in a meaningful way.
Right.
It's not just passively absorbing information, it's actively constructing knowledge.
Got it. So it's less about memorizing the facts
Right.
and more about going deeper, challenging your assumptions, and really getting the why behind the what.
Exactly.
Okay, so then what about that study social dynamic?
Oh, yeah.
This one seems a little trickier.
This one can be.
What does it even mean?
It's about creating a positive group dynamic, like a space where everybody feels safe to share their ideas, even if they're different from everyone else's.
Yeah.
And that needs clear communication.
A real openness to different viewpoints, and just a supportive atmosphere where people feel comfortable taking risks and even making mistakes.
Yeah, because let's face it, no one wants to be in a group where they feel like they're going to get judged
Right.
or intimidated for speaking their mind, right?
Exactly.
It needs to be a space where people feel like their contributions are actually valued.
It does. And that sense of psychological safety, that's so essential.
Yeah.
If people are, always worried about what they say, they're not going to be engaged.
Right.
And then ultimately the whole group is going to suffer.
Yeah. Makes sense. And then finally, we have organization. I feel like this is the one that can really make or break a group project.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, haven't we all had the experience where one person ends up doing all the work?
Oh, yeah. It's the classic group work nightmare.
Ugh. Yes.
But a well-organized group, they can actually avoid those pitfalls.
It's about having those roles and responsibilities clearly defined, setting, clear goals from the start,
Right.
and making sure that everyone's on the same page about what's expected.
So it's almost like having a mini project manager within the group.
Yes.
Someone who makes sure that things are moving forward, that deadlines are being met, that everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah, you need that organizational backbone to keep things from, going off the rails.
Absolutely. But even with the best intentions, group dynamics can get a little messy.
Oh, totally.
I mean, we've all experienced that dreaded group fate at some point.
The what?
Group fate.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of dread when you get assigned a group project.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
You've got free riders, personality clashes, the whole shebang.
It's a pretty common phenomenon, unfortunately.
It is. But the key is to shift that perspective, like from dread to delight.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
By addressing those potential pitfalls head on, we can actually turn the whole group experience into something positive and productive.
I love that.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? How do we manage those, shall we say, less than ideal aspects of group work?
Well, there are a bunch of different strategies that can really help.
Okay.
One of the biggest ones is to address any problematic behavior right away.
Okay.
Like, don't just let things fester. It's always easier to deal with issues early on before they turn into these huge problems.
So no more passive-aggressive sticky notes or venting to your friends outside of the group.
Nope. Direct, respectful communication is key.
Got it.
And another thing, establishing those clear group norms right from the beginning.
Okay.
That can help prevent so many headaches later on. If everyone agrees on how they're going to work together, communicate,
Right.
and resolve conflicts, it's like setting the stage for a much smoother collaboration.
Yeah, it's about setting those expectations early, because once those bad habits start forming, they can be really hard to break.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so what else?
Another good strategy is to use peer evaluations.
So,
That can be a really great way to encourage individual accountability. Make sure that everyone's contributing their fair share.
makes sense.
When you know that your contributions are going to be assessed by your peers, it makes you want to be a good teammate.
So it's not just about the final product,
Right.
but also about the process.
Exactly. Because if someone's just coasting along,
Yeah?
relying on everyone else to do the work, that's not really collaborative learning.
No, it's not.
Hmm.
And by addressing these things head on, you can create a much more equitable and ultimately more rewarding group learning experience.
Absolutely.
This has been super insightful.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder.
Yeah. We've been talking about group learning mostly in these traditional settings.
Yeah, like classrooms or study groups.
Right. Exactly. But what if we thought about it a little more broadly?
Okay, yeah. Where are you going with this?
Well, think about all the other places in our lives where we're working with people, like our workplaces, community organizations, even our families.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we collaborate with others, whether it's to brainstorm for a new project at work, or even just deciding what's for dinner,
Right.
those same principles, learning, the social dynamics, organization,
Yeah.
they all come into play.
So all those group projects we did in school,
Uh-huh.
they were actually like training us for life in general.
I think so. In a way, yeah.
Okay, but how can we actively apply these group learning principles in those different places?
Well, let's think about the workplace for a second.
Okay.
One of the most important things is to make sure everyone understands the task, right from the start.
Yeah, make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. What are the goals? What are the individual roles and responsibilities? How are we going to make decisions?
Yeah.
Having clarity on all of those things, that lays a really solid foundation for collaboration.
So it's almost like you create this mini group contract,
Right.
even if it's not written down,
Uh-huh.
to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. And something else that's super important, making sure communication is open.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Encouraging people to share their ideas, even if they seem a little, out there.
Yeah,
You never know where that next great innovation will come from.
that's true. Isn't there that saying, the best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas?
Exactly. But what about when those group dynamics go off the rails, even when you're trying your best?
Oh, yeah, I've been there. What about when you have that one person who, dominates the whole conversation, or someone who just isn't pulling their weight?
Oh, yeah. Those are definitely challenges that can come up in any group. And remember, you don't have to just put up with bad behavior.
Yeah, okay.
Just like in a classroom setting, it's important to address those issues directly,
Okay.
but respectfully, of course.
So it's finding that balance, right, between being assertive and respecting everyone's feelings.
Yeah, exactly. You got to find that sweet spot between the individual's contributions and the goals of the whole group. Everyone needs to feel like they're a valuable part of the process for it to really be a group effort.
And I imagine that's true outside of work, too.
Totally.
Whether you're putting together a community event,
Yeah.
planning a family vacation,
Yeah,
those same principles still apply.
absolutely. Group learning, it goes so far beyond just academic. It's about how we all work together, how we collaborate to reach a common goal, no matter what we're doing.
This makes me think about the importance of diversity in groups.
Oh, yeah.
If everyone comes from the same background and has the same perspectives, I feel like the results you get are going to be pretty limited.
That's such a good observation. Diversity of thought, experience, background, all of that.
Yeah.
It's essential for coming up with new ideas and being creative. Bringing together people who have different viewpoints, it opens up so many more possibilities.
It really does. It's like you might have this amazing idea, but then someone else comes along and says, hey, what if we changed it like this?
Yeah.
And suddenly your idea is even better than you imagined.
Totally. You can build on each other's strengths, challenge each other's assumptions, and really push each other to think in new ways.
For sure. But I imagine managing a diverse group that can have its own challenges.
It can.
How do you deal with cultural differences or differences in how people communicate?
That's a great point. It all comes down to creating an environment of respect and understanding.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to feel like they're being heard and that their ideas are valuable, no matter what their background is or what their perspective is.
So being a good listener.
Yes.
Trying to understand different points of view, being open to learning from each other.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where everyone feels safe to share their ideas and perspectives, even if they're not, the norm.
So it sounds like communication is really the key to success in any group.
You got it. Clear, concise, and respectful communication. That's the foundation of good collaboration.
Yeah.
And remember, communication is a two-way street. It's not just about saying what you think, but also really listening to and understanding what other people have to say.
Which is where those active listening skills and conflict resolution skills are really useful, right?
Totally. Being able to listen closely, understand different points of view, and find that common ground.
Yeah.
That's how you can work through problems in a way that helps the group move forward.
We've covered so much. I'm seeing group work in a whole new light.
That's great.
So much more than I realized. But I do wonder about those times when you just need to buckle down and work on your own.
Of course.
Sometimes you need that solo focus time, right?
Absolutely. There's definitely a time and a place for individual work.
Yeah.
In fact, having a good balance between reflecting on your own and working together in a group, that can be really powerful.
It's like you can brainstorm and share ideas in a group, but then you need that quiet time by yourself to really process everything, make the information your own.
Exactly. Knowing when to work alone and when to work together, that's a big part of learning effectively, both in our personal lives and in our careers.
So it's not about choosing one or the other, but finding the right balance.
Precisely. And that balance is going to look different for everyone, for different tasks, for different situations.
Yeah.
It's about being aware of how you learn best and what works best for you.
All this is making me want to go out and use this group learning knowledge in my own life.
That's great. But before we wrap things up.
Sure. Well, here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay, I'm ready. What is it?
So we've been talking about, all the good things about group learning and some of the challenges and how we can use these ideas in different parts of our lives.
Yeah.
But what if we zoomed out even further?
What if we thought about our whole society as one giant learning group?
Whoa, that's a pretty big idea.
Right.
You're saying we should be thinking about collaboration and sharing knowledge on a global scale.
Exactly. Think about what we could do if we could really tap into all the wisdom and creativity and problem-solving skills of people all over the world.
Wow. So instead of competing all the time, we could actually be working together to solve some of those really huge problems that we're facing. Like climate change, poverty, social inequality.
Right.
All those things. It's like they're global group projects.
Yeah, exactly. And if we could use those same principles of group learning that we've been talking about, open communication, respecting different points of view, being willing to learn from each other, we could create a world that's more fair, more sustainable, just better for everyone.
That's a really inspiring thought. It makes me wonder, what can we do as individuals to actually build that kind of world?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that we're all already part of this, this big web of learning, even if we don't always realize it.
Yeah.
It's about being curious, seeking out different perspectives, having conversations with people who aren't like us.
So being open to learning from, anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Exactly. And that might mean getting out of our comfort zones a little bit, challenging our own assumptions, and being willing to, change our minds when we learn new things.
I like that.
And it's about using our voices, our skills, the things we're passionate about to make the world a better place.
Wow, this has been such an amazing deep dive.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what group learning really is.
Yeah.
So much more powerful and complex than I ever thought.
It really is. It's something we can keep learning about and exploring our whole lives.
Yeah, it is. And if we use these principles, we can really achieve amazing things together.
We can.
This is a fantastic note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of group learning. And until next time, keep those minds open, those voices strong, and keep that collaborative spirit alive.